Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today we are going to study together APA citation. How to cite your essay, how to cite your paper if you are an MA student or a PhD student. So this session may help you to do this task. We will start with the definition of APA in text citation. In text citation is a citation within your writing. It shows where you found your information, where you found your facts, where you found your quotes. So all APA in text citation require some basic information, like what? The author's last name, no first name, no initials, just the author's last name. Don't forget this important point. The year of publication. If the year of publication is not available, you can write N.D. It means no date. N for no and D for date. And in this case, the author's last name will not be followed by the year of publication. It will be followed by N.D. If it's a direct quotation, you have to refer to the page number or paragraph number if the page number is not available, or a chapter or section or timestamp. So it depends. But anyway, we don't refer to the page number, paragraph number, chapter number or section number or timestamp unless it's a direct quotation. The difference between citation and references. Citation and references are highly important. Both of them are highly important, and they should be included anytime you use another individual's work in your own assignment. When including a quote, paraphrased information, images, or any other piece of information from another work, you need to show where you found it because it's not your work. If you don't do that, it will be considered plagiarism. So you need to show where you found it by including citation and reference. APA style citation are added in the body of your research paper or your project, but references are added to the last page. So this is the first main difference between both of them. Don't forget, my students, citation is added in the body of your research paper or your essay or your project, but references usually added to the last page. Methods for composing citation in your paper. There are different methods for composing citations in your paper, but two of the most common styles are the APA and the MLA. The APA, abbreviation or acronym for American Psychology Association. A for American and B for psychology and A for association. MLA, this is for Modern Language Association. M for modern, L for language, and A for association. And in general, don't forget, APA is used in sciences, while MLA is used in humanities. Now it's time to create in-text citation, the structure for creating in-text citation. If your citation is a structure for one author, so you will use just the last name of the author, no initials, no first name, plus the year, followed by the year, comma, year, and comma, page number. If your in-text citation is made narratively, so you start with the last name, comma, year, and then page number, by the end. By the end, of course, I mean the end of your citation, because this time the last name of the author will be included in the text you are writing. But in parentheses, at the end of the sentence, you put between parentheses the name of the author, the last name, of course, year of publication, and page number. If you have two authors, you will do the same, but for the names, you will include last name of author 1 and last name of author 2. This is an example. Look here, Stein, and then brackets or parentheses 2018. This first citation is called narrative in text citation. Why? Because the author's last name is in the text. It's included in the text of the sentence. So the page number will come after we finish the citation of the text. I put it between brackets and I don't write page in complete letters, just P dot and then the number of the page. But if the last name of the author is not included in the text of the sentence, so it will come by the end of the sentence. And it comes between brackets, followed by year of publication, followed by page number. And we will use, don't forget, we will use commas. Last name, comma, year of publication, comma, P for page, dot, and then the number. Like the example here, here we have two authors' name. I write the last name of the first author and the last name of the second author, followed by the year of publication, followed by the page number. This structure is for 3 or more authors. If the source you are taking from your information or your ideas or whatever is written by 3 or more authors, in this case, you start with the last name of author 1 and ital. Ital, this is abbreviation of the Latin phrase Italia. It means and others, followed by the same procedures we used for first author source and two author source. Year, page number. Look at this example here. Agbayani ital. Agbayani, this is the last name of the author, of the first author. Ital means and others. I write it et, al, and dot, followed by comma. Don't forget this structure. Et, space, you leave space, al, dot, period, comma, and then the year of publication, comma, and P for page, dot, and the number. If you are quoting from a source, you include, of course, the author's last name, the year of publication, the page number. Sometimes the page number is not available. What should I do? You can use the paragraph number. And in this case, you write para instead of paragraph. Para, dot, and write the number of the paragraph. If it's the introductory paragraph, it will be 1. If it's body paragraph number 1, it will be 2. If it's body paragraph number 2, it will be 3, and so on. If you have taken it from more than one paragraph, you start with the number of the first paragraph, and then dash, and the number of the last paragraph. If your paragraph is included within a chapter or within a section, you can write the number of the chapter. And in this case, you write a chapter complete, C-H-A-P-E-T-R, and the number of the chapter. Chapter 3, for example, comma, para for paragraph, dot, and the number 3. Or you can write the name of the section, plant-based foods section, and then also comma, para, dot, and the number of the paragraph. If it's taken from slides or table number, you write slide and then the number of the slide you have taken the information from, or table and the number of the table you have taken the information from. In this case, you are not going to use dots. Why? Because actually, like a chapter, no dots, because you write the word in full. But in page number, you write just P, so you need to use dot. In paragraph, you just write para, so you have to use dot. But for a chapter, slide, table, you write the full word, so there is no need to use a dot. This is an example. According to Cook Gambus, 1986, comma, and then the direct quotation. And after I finish the direct quotation, I use inverted comma. And then between brackets, I write the page number, followed by the period. So again, don't forget, Cook Gambus, this is just the last name. They are not two names. This is just the last name, followed by the year of publication between brackets, and then comma, because here I have used according to. I use inverted commas to write the text I copied, and then I finish with the other inverted commas. And don't use the period directly. You have to use the page number between brackets before you put the period. If the page number is not available, like in the second example, you can write the chapter number, comma, the paragraph number. If you have no author, what should I do? If there is no author for the source I'm taking the information from, there is no problem at all. You can write the title of the source followed by the year. The title of the source, okay? Here the source lacks an author's name. The author name is missing. Place the title, followed by the year, followed by the page number if available in the text. But don't forget, the title should be in italics. Don't forget that. Especially if it sits alone. What do you mean by sits alone? If it's a movie, for example, or a brochure or a report. But if it's a part of a whole, like a web page is a part of the web site, or article, it's a part of a journal. So here it doesn't sit alone, no, it sits with other pages, like the example of web pages, or it sits with other articles, like the example of article. So in this case, you place the title in quotation marks without italics, okay? Without italics. But if it stands alone, like a movie, a brochure, report, you write the name or the title in italics followed by the year. If it's not part of a whole, which is very common for you, because usually you take from the web page or from articles. So the second example is more available for you as a student. So your source in this case, you will write the title of the source. Don't forget, we don't have the author's name. It will be without italics. It will be between quotation marks. If we have secondary, not direct source, it's indirect source. So in this case, my source is not the primary source. It's a secondary source. You read an article, for example, by Brown in 2020. In this source, Brown referred to another source written by Smith in 2017. And I want actually to take the information from what was written by Smith in 2017 and not what was written by Brown in 2020. In this case, Brown is the secondary, is the indirect source for me. And Smith Smith is the first and the original source. Why I don't take directly from Smith? Because maybe sometimes you don't have a chance to find the primary source. You find the primary source only available in secondary sources. But if you find the primary source directly, there is no need actually to refer to any secondary sources. But sometimes it happens, especially for those who are working in the field of research, that not all sources are available in the primary form. Sometimes you find them in secondary sources. So what can I do? You start with the secondary source, the last name of the author, followed by the year, but this time the year will not be between brackets. And you write the phrase as cited in. As cited in, and after it, you refer to the secondary source. In the same form, last name followed by year of publication. And here, year of publication, either for the first primary source or for the secondary source, will not be between brackets. Now it's time to see how we can write the references. References, as if you remember, usually found at the end of your research paper. They are usually on the last page, so they are not actually in the text of the text. They are not in the body of your work. And when we talked about in-text citation, we said that in text citation only refer to the last name of the author followed by the year of publication and sometimes the page number. In the references, no. In the references, I give full information for my citation. These references, how can I put them in order? How they are listed? They are listed in alphabetical order. You start by the author's last name. What is the general format for the reference? It varies. It varies. We can't say that we have specific general format, but mostly we use this format, starting with author's last name, comma, first initial, only the first letter of the first name. And if there is middle name, also you can write the first letter of the middle name, and then the year of publication, and then the title, and then the publisher information. And if it's taken from a website, you refer to the URL. But there are some important notes, important points that you have to take consideration of. All references sit together on their own page, which is usually the last page of your paper. The title of your page will be references. And the references will be in the center of the page, and it's bolded. And you keep the title in the same font and the same size as the references. So references and what comes after, all of them will be in the same font and the same size. But the main difference between the word references and the references I'm going to write after is only in the process of bolding. References are bolded, but other references, no. Also, don't forget that you don't need to italicize or underline or to place the title in quotation marks. You don't need to increase the font size. The font size will be the same for all references. Don't italicize the title. Don't underline the title. Don't put the title in quotation marks. The entire page is double space. The entire page of the reference should be double space, not 1 line and a half space or single space or exact space or at least space. No, it should be double spaced. And again, I want to remind you that all references are listed in alphabetical order by the first word and the last name of the reference. And if the source lacks an author, also we alphabetize the source by the first letter of the first word in the title. But if the title includes indefinite or definite articles, a and the, ignore. Don't count them as a letter in your alphabetical order. All references have hanging indent. What does it mean? It means that the second line of your text is indented in half an inch. Look at the example here. The first line, Tang, the last name of the author, followed by comma, then the initial of the first name, followed by dot, and then comma, and then the ampersand, which means and, followed by the last name Pierce, and then, of course, Pierce should be followed by comma, but comma here is missing. And then the first initial and the initial of the first initial of the first name, and also the first initial of the middle name, followed by the year of publication between brackets, after it, dot. And then the title, and when I write the title, I only capitalize the first letter of the first word, followed by dot, and then I write the name of the journal. After the name of the journal, I use comma, and then the volume number. The volume number always in italics. And after it, directly the number of the issue between brackets with no space between the volume number and the issue number. And don't forget, the volume number should be italicized, but the issue number, no italicizing for the issue number. It should be between brackets. After it, comma, and then I write the page number. So don't forget, I want also to remind you of the hanging indent. If we look at the second line here, we will find that we indent on the second line. So this is what we call the hanging indent. Also, when we look at the space between the lines, we will find that it's double space. It's double space. Each and every citation which were included in your text, in your paper, must have full reference in the reference list. Author's name, how I write it in the reference, is it the same like in text citation? No. In text citation, I only write the final name, the last name of the author, only. But in references, no. In references, I write last name followed by initials. If only the first name is used in the reference, I use the initial, the first letter, capitalized, of course, followed by dot. If first and middle name are available, I write both of them, also followed by dot, each one of them. Don't forget this important point. If we have two or more authors, I will do the same. Also, I will write the last name, followed by comma, the initial, first letter of the first name, followed by dot, and then the ampersand, and the final name, the last name of the second author, followed by comma, and then the initials of the first or middle name is if they are available. The title, I told you that we only capitalize the first word of the title. And if we have subtitle, also I capitalize the first word of the subtitle. You are going to ask me, what about names of people, names of places, names of organizations, names of proper nouns in general? Oh, if you have names of people, places, organization, or any other proper nouns, you capitalize the first letter. Don't worry about that. Like the examples here, Strange case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Here, I only capitalize the first letter of the first word, S in strange. Case, no. But the title, like doctor, I have to capitalize the first letter. Mr., another title, also I capitalize the first letter. Name like Jekyll, I capitalize J. Hyde, I capitalize H. Okay. The second one, we have subtitle. We have main title, which is Roots, and subtitle, which is the saga of an American family. Also, I capitalize, don't forget, the first letter of the title and the first letter of the subtitle. So here I have capitalized Roots, and I have capitalized the saga of an American family. You are going to ask me why you have capitalized American, because this is, you know, a nationality, and the nationalities I have to capitalize. If the title is the title of a book or a report, of course you remember that we italicize this title in the APA style. Of course you remember. When I told you that if it's a source that can sit alone, like title of books, title of reports, title of movies, you italicize. But if they are part of a whole, like a title of an article or title of a web page, they are not italicized. So 4 articles, 4 chapters, we don't italicize the title. We capitalize only the first letter in the title and in the subtitle. For newspapers, magazines, journals, newsletters, and other periodicals, you capitalize the first letter in each word. So this is the only case in which I capitalize the first letter in each word, and at the same time, I italicize the title. If I took my piece of information or my ideas from a newspaper, from a magazine, from a journal, newsletters, or other periodicals. Here, there is a common question, which is always asked by students. Whether to underline your title or place it in italics or quotation marks in the reference list. I told you that it depends on the source. If it sits alone and is not part of a larger whole, you place the title in italics. If the source doesn't sit alone and is part of a large whole, don't place it in italics. Books, movies, journals, television shows are placed in italics since they stand alone. Songs on an album, episodes of a television shows, chapters in books, articles in journals are not placed in italics because they are smaller pieces of large wholes. Publication, the publication comes directly after the author's name. I mean by publication, of course, the publication date. The date of the publication comes directly after the name of the author. Like the example here, Nardosi M. Nardosi, the last name, and then comma, and then the initial M, and then dot. Between brackets, usually I write the publication year. Sometimes I write the full date. I include the full date when, not in all cases, no. I include the full date for only newspapers and the magazine journals, but only the year for journals and all other sources. So you are going to include full date for only 2 sources. Shabab, don't forget it, only for newspapers and magazines. If the year is not available, you of course remember that we use the initials N.D. It means no date. Publisher information, highly important, and they have to be included in your references. You include the publisher name, but not the location. The location is not important. Only the publisher name. It's not necessary to include even the entire name of the publisher. There is no need. It's acceptable to use brief, intelligible form. So if books or press are part of the publisher names, keep these words in the references. But other common terms such as ink, publishers, they are commonly omitted. For newspapers, journals, magazines, and other periodicals, don't forget to include the volume and the issue number after the title. The volume number is listed first by itself in italics, followed by the issue number in parentheses immediately after, and not italicized, and no space between volume and issue. No space. Look at the example. Here we find the last name of the first author, comma, initial usually followed by dot, comma, the last name of the second author, comma, initial of the second author, dot, because initials are usually followed by dots, comma, last name of the third author, comma, initial dot, comma, and here the ampersand before the last name of the last author, comma, initial dot, and the year of publication. After the year of publication, which is usually written in brackets, I use dot, and then the title followed by dot, and then the name of the journal, capitalized. The name of the journal is different from the title. The name of the journal, every letter is capitalized. I mean by capitalized, only the first letter in each word, not the whole word, of course. Of course, you understand that. And after the name of journal, I use comma, not dot this time, and followed by the volume number, which is italicized. The volume number is followed directly with the issue number, which is not italicized, but it's written between brackets with no space between the volume number and the issue number. After the issue number, I use comma. I can write the page number if it's available, and then the URL. The URL, usually I use it for the electronic source information. If you have online source, the URL or the DOI, this is abbreviation for the direct object identifier. D for direct and O for object and I for identifier are included at the end of an APA citation. The DOI number, they are often created by publishers for journal articles and some other periodical sources. They were created in response to the problem of broken links or outdated links. Sometimes you write your article on a specific journal which has a specific URL, but suddenly this website of the journal is broken. The link of the journal is outdated, so actually your material is lost. So they used instead the DOI number for each article published in a journal. So if something like this happened, your article is maintained. When a journal article is assigned a DOI number, it's static, will never change. Because of its permanent characteristic, the DOI is the preferred type of electronic information to be included in APA citation. If the DOI is not available, you can include the source's URL. So don't include both of them, just one of them, either the DOI or the URL. For the DOI, you include the number in this format, HTTP, and then the colon, and then two dashes, or two slashes, and then DOI dot ORG, and then slash, and then you write the number of the DOI. For the URLs, you type them in this format, HTTP colon two dashes, or HTTPS colon two dashes. If the URL is longer than a line, you can break it up. You can break it up. And don't place a period at the end of the citation URL. After you write the URL, don't put a period. Don't place a period. It's unnecessary to include the retrieval dates. Retrieval dates, especially for some articles, are not important to be included unless the source changes often over time, like the Wikipedia, for example, especially if the article is in Wikipedia. Some articles in Wikipedia, it changes from time to time. It's not necessary to include the name of the databases. These are some practice on the APA citations that you can find it in your assignments. Give in the in-text citation and the reference page citation for the following sources. Author, Brown Ned, year 2020. The title, Study of Postgraduate Students. The page number and the article pages 230 to 245. And the quote page, the page which you have quoted or which your quotation is taken from, is 237. The name of the journal, Happiness in Life Review. So here in the text citation, it's written between brackets, out of 10 students think that writing is difficult. And you are asked to write in text citation. So you can use a phrase like according to, and then the last name of the author. The author here is called Brown Ned, so the last name is Ned. You will write according to Ned. And after it, the year of publication, 2020. And then dot, oh, I'm sorry, not dot here. And then the inverted commas. Don't forget to use comma after the year of publication. It's not written here, but don't forget to use it. Then you copy the text as it is between inverted commas, and then the page number P dot, and the page number here is 237. This is the page number from which you take your quotation. But the article was written in 15 pages from 230 to 145. But if you want to write a reference, you have to give full information. You start with the last name, Ned, followed by comma, the initial only, B, followed by dot, and then the year of publication, 2020, between brackets. Don't forget to use dot. Dot is missing here. Don't forget to write it. And then the title. Also the title here, it shouldn't be capitalized the first letter. This is wrong. I only capitalize the first word. I only capitalize the first word, which is a study. And also A will be capitalized, but A is not important. Okay? Because if you remember, I told you the articles, if they are the first letter, you capitalize, and also you capitalize the letter of the word that comes after it. Here, you use dot after you write the title, and then the name of the journal, followed by comma, not dot, comma, not dot, and then the page number 237. So take care of these mistakes which are made here on purpose in order to tell you how we can correct the mistakes. Here, the reference is written in some mistakes as well as in text. I'm going to tell you the first mistake for the in-text citation. For the in-text citation, I have to use comma after 2020. For the references, I have to use dot after the publication year. I have to capitalize only A and S in the title, no capitalization for P in postgraduate, no capitalization for S in students. I have to use a comma after the name of the journal, Happiness Alive Review. This is another example, also here, but this time we have two authors, Alan Jameson and Susan Pitt. The volume is number 7. The title is Careful Investigation of Cardiac Disease. The issue is number 3, the Journal of Medical Practices. Page number, the article pages from 90 to 95. Your quotation on page 93. The year of publication is 2018. Here in the in-text citation, he gives you this text: most parents suffer from cardiac diseases. Also, you can use the same phrase according to, you can change the phrase, it's up to you. You can just say James and Blatt state or believed or discussed or whatever. Here I selected to use according to Jameson and the ampersand Blatt 2020. And then the text between brackets and then the page number. Here there is some wrong points that we need to clarify. The first one actually is the comma after 2020. After 2020, which is written between brackets, I use comma. Also after the page number, which is written between brackets, I use dot. Don't forget to correct these mistakes. They have been made here in particular on purpose in order to be able to clarify and correct. For the references in which I give the full information, Jameson, comma, initial, dot, the ampersand, Blatt, comma, S, initial, dot, and then the year of publication, followed by dot, and the careful investigation of cardiac disease. The title here is written correct, but we have also to capitalize careful, okay? Because A will be capitalized anyway because it's the first letter, but it's an article, indefinite article. And then after the title here, he used comma, no, after the title, I use dot. And then the Journal of Medical Practices. Okay, I can use comma after the journal. The volume number italicized between brackets, very good. The issue number with no space, no brackets, no italicized, and then comma, and then the page number. This is the last example for our session today, which I think it was somehow long, but it's very important for you. Authors, we have Mellon, P. Argon. Date of publication, April 21, April, of course, 21, 2017. Title of web page, Statistics of COVID-19 Cases. Date of access, January 3, 2017. Sponsoring organization, Organization of World Health Code, paragraph 8. And the URL, http://www.worldhealthstatistics COVID-19 cases 542. For the in-text citation, I have a small text between brackets. Most people were subject to COVID-19. I will start with the same phrase according to Argon, and then just the initials of the middle, and then the first, or the first and middle, as you like. And don't forget, after the initials, I use just dots. But usually, of course, I start with the initial of the first name, and then the initial of the maiden name. After it, the year of publication. Don't forget the comma. The comma is missing here after the bracket in which I write the year of publication. Then I use the inverted commas. Between the inverted commas, I copy the text which is given to me. And then the page, no, we don't have page number. This time we have paragraph number. I will write para. Here also para is not written correctly. It's written para. It should be para, P-A-R-A. So A, the last A is missing. And also the period after the brackets of the page number is missing. You have to write it. Don't forget this correction. It's highly important for all of you. For references, I start with writing the last name, followed by the initials of the first name and the middle name. This time I write the full date, year, comma, month and date, after it, dot, and then the title. There is no need to capitalize the first letter in each word. You only capitalize statistics, but covered also can be capitalized here, okay? Organization of worded hairs. This is actually the sponsoring organization. And after it, the access date, January 3, 2017, followed by the URL. This is the end of our session. I hope you have enjoyed it. I tried actually to show you some important points related to APA citation. Good luck for all of you, and see you inshallah in other following sessions.